If there was one piece of equipment that you needed to buy for your studio to get you up and running, to take you from being an amateur or a hobbyist to a professional, what would that be? That's what Paul and I are going to be discussing on the Working Audio Tools podcast today. Welcome back to the home of all things mixing. I'm Ed Thorne in London. This is my affable co-host Paul Third up in Scotland. So Paul, if there was one piece of gear, right, there's so many things that could potentially make up a studio. How can we refine this? What's the priority for you in making this decision?
I think I wanted to make a video discussing big audio purchases and, discussing why some people may make a really big, investment. Some of us have made big investments, Ed more than me, because I'm super tight. But again, there's also, reasons as to why you may not need to. Because there are other things that are cheaper and less expensive and you can actually save some money. So I thought I'd make a video talking about, big investments, why, it can be important, but also, why, if we can help you out, you don't need to spend as much. So Ed, talking about big audio purchases, what has been your biggest audio purchase so far?
Oh, that's an unfair question. Which one? So
many.
there's the biggest single purchase, I'll be honest, was 2 racks of Wes audio gear that cost me about 10 grand at the end of last year, before I promised not to spend any more money on gear, which I then screwed up when I moved into the studio. There's been a few, I'll be honest, and they're all luxury items. Let's face it, I've proved to myself this year that you don't need the analog gear. The one thing for me, it's so screamingly obvious for me, the one thing you should spend money on and not scrimp on, because you need it and it will facilitate everything you do, is a high-spec MacBook Pro computer or a Mac of some kind. Now,
you need a good computer.
The PC guys will be raging away in the comments now. You don't need Mac PCs, blah, blah, you can upgrade them, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck. Right, my Mac M4 is absolutely flying. It's ridiculous. And that'll do me for 5 years. I've decided on a 5-year upgrade sequence, which I've kind of fallen into. I bought one in 2015, 2020, and now 25. So in 2030, I'll buy another Mac and deal with the bullshit I've had with this one, with upgrading everything and stuff. But it'll be worth it because now it's up and running. It's just stunning. The fans haven't even come on yet on any session I've worked on. So I'm no longer going to be inhibited by, Mixboss taking 10,000 samples of delay compensation on my mix bus.
For me, I've not spent as much as Ed. I just couldn't do it, especially with having a wife and kids. But I would have to say, like, the biggest investment that I've made was definitely the Atmos room. And it's funny because many people would think you need I remember somebody in a video said that Paul Third has spent close to £100,000 on his Atmos room. I was like, yeah, you don't know who I am.
Didn't I reply saying I know Paul quite well, and I guarantee it's not even near a 10.
It's not happening. But yeah, I think all in, I think retail for you to buy that today, I think I speculated it'd cost you around 7.5 retail. I obviously didn't spend as much as 7.5, but I had to buy all the speakers. I got a deal from Cali on those. I got Aurea for free. All the acoustic treatment I had to do myself. I had to do all the brackets myself. Stands I got for free. So I didn't spend that much, but it was still a big investment for me. It was a big investment financially and also time. Fucking hell, man, the amount of time I've spent in that Atmos room. And in terms of my career, it's not really done anything for it, but I've not put enough time into it. And I think that's an important thing to kind of mention, is that you should, in my opinion, only really think about making big investments on things that you know is 100% going to benefit your career. In hindsight, do I need an Atmos room? Absolutely not. I've not done anything with it since I've built it. So I got Nate down from LA and he calibrated it again, and it sounds great, but I'm still like trying to get the studio up and running and getting the sessions running and being busy, and even just getting busy being stereo. But I will get to it eventually. But it is very important to think long and hard about these big financial investments, because it scares me, because many people will put themselves into debt. You know, many people will just max out a fucking credit card, and you got to be careful when you're spending those big amounts of money, because especially if it's, you know, a quite considerable investment and it's, you know, finance, or it's, you know, a credit card. I mean, you could maybe be easily paying fucking, you know, 100 odd quid a month, and you get a tight month, and all of a sudden you're like, shit, I really need that money. So you've got to be very, very, very careful when you make these big investments. So my advice now from experience would be, try and buy stuff that you definitely know will reap its investment back. That's something that many people told me, is that when you're looking at buying stuff, always think about, is this going to pay for itself? So like, your monitoring is definitely going to pay back on itself. So for example, if you're going to spend a shit ton of money on your room, and you're going to spend a shit ton of money on your speakers, that's going to be an investment that you're going to get back, because hopefully your monitoring is going to be great, so your mixes are going to translate well, you're going to have clients coming back, and then that's going to keep facilitating you to keep doing this as a business. I think analog's a very difficult thing, because there might be a piece of analog where you're like, I have a specific sound and that one set of specific gear that fucking just does it for me. It does it better than a plug-in, blah. Obviously, we all know my opinions on analog, and I'm like, a piece of outboard isn't going to make or break any mix I do. So for me, like, you know, spending, for example, maybe, I don't know, $8,000 or $6,000 on a stereo unit or a mono unit, just because it adds a bit of vibe, and it maybe is going to be hitting maybe fucking 2 dB of compression or something like that. It's not really a very clever investment, Ed, isn't it? I mean, what's your opinion, having invested so much in audio, looking back on some of the investments that you made? I mean, do you think you made the right decisions on gear?
Needless to say, Paul's opinion on this and mine are very different. I understand your opinion, and if I was being sensible, and if I didn't have the luxury of affording this stuff, yeah, I'd have had to have made way more sensible decisions. But because of how lucrative live sound work is, and I don't have a wife and kids, I am in the fortunate position where I have disposable income on stuff, and I love audio, so I like exploring stuff. The best value for money item I think I've bought, still probably the Mac, because I mean, in terms of the Wes gear, since I've moved into this studio, I've used a few bits of it. I think having like a little bit of outboard gear, just for a different flavour. Like there was a track I did for Marv that you've had, Paul, that I just thought that just needs some tape on it, and it needs a tube compressor on it. And I was glad I had that to hand to be able to do that. So it's more a luxury of having the option. I mean, I do get a lot of use out of my Neve 1073 LB 500 series preamps. Or at least one of them gets used.
So that's
all the time.
worth the investment, because you've made, because in a sense you've done so many sessions on it, and that's what I think is the most important thing, is to think about everything that you buy. Am I going to get my money back on this? Because I mean, Ed, you've lost quite a lot of money in some of the purchases that you've made. I mean, you've made, you know, you've bought quite a few expensive things.
Hang on. It depends how you package it for. You know, from a financial point of view, yes, you know, debatable in a few places. From an educational point of view, can you put a price on learning, you know? Yes, I can spin anything into bullshit.
Oh, you went down that route.
But okay, there were some things I regret buying, like the SSL stuff, because when they slashed their prices, that meant I got a quarter of what I sold for it. So I regret selling the SSL G bus, but I wouldn't use it now because it's not recallable. And I regret selling the API 550Bs because they have a sound in the low end that nothing else I've used does. The Wes Audio EQs are far too clean, and they're not precise. They don't have enough control parameters in the low end to get what they did. They just had something. So I regret selling those two. But I think one of the other best value for money things I bought has been the flock patch, because that has enabled me to route this mic chain every single time, recall it immediately, recall analog settings and analog chains immediately. That's genuinely a very good piece for the studio. Trinov as well has been a good investment. That's been a very good learning curve. But arguably a bigger learning curve has been getting a SonarWorks mic and Room EQ Wizard. You know, it was literally before we recorded this episode, we were nerding out about Paul's recent rabbit holing with his SM8s, which looked like fun. The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. Don't forget, you can't just upload your songs to Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, or Tidal. You have to go through a music distribution service. There are many out there, but DistroKid is the one that Paul and myself use. They don't take any of your royalties. You keep 100% of the streaming revenue that you earn. For just $1.92 a month or $22.99 a year, you can upload unlimited songs. Your lyrics can be found in Google and other places. You get the blue Spotify verified checkmark, and you can create royalty splits between yourselves and fellow contributors. You also get access to the new DistroKid iPhone app for editing and uploading songs and accessing your statistics on the move. There are plenty of other tools available on DistroKid. We'll go through those in another section.
And I'm cautious about advising a fucking, like, they're now down to like 300 and odd quid now, a £300 pair of headphones. And we think about people that are thinking about shelling, you know, 5, 6, 8 grand on maybe one piece. That's a big investment. And it is something that you should genuinely think long and hard about. Because if you cannot justify that piece of gear, and okay, well, you're obviously disagreeing. I just always think I always feel like I need to look out for people. And that's always been a thing that I've struggled with.
I'm agreeing you, but it depends where you are in the industry. If you're just getting into mixing and mastering for yourself at home and, you know, it's a hobby, yeah, maybe you could be more sensible. If that money, for example, is worth investing in something instead, or, I don't know, investing in crypto, whatever you want to put it in property, whatever you want to put it into. If that money's going to make you more money doing that in the long run, that's where I'm thinking now with any money. I don't need to spend any money really on anything. I have just made a purchase, but I see that as a lifetime purchase for what I've bought. I will keep those things forever. But I think the other question would be is, would I buy all of this again? And I can say I would buy most of this again, but I might not buy 2 of the Wes audio racks. I would keep one because it's nice to have some chains, but there's 2 that I probably wouldn't have. So, yeah, the one I bought at the end of last year, if I'm honest, I don't need. I can do all that in the box. As long as I've got a few options to run a few things through analog to satiate that love for it and that sound and that variety, which I've come to really like and enjoy. And that, for me, enhances the enjoyment of the work process. I can't put a price on that, but yeah, would I buy everything again? I'd buy everything on this desk in front of me again now, but I wouldn't, which will be in a studio tour video at some point. But I won't buy this little bunch of guys down here because I haven't used it since I put it in the studio.
Yeah, so you can't really justify it, really. But
and I might do on my original stuff. The other way to look at it now is, as things are getting much more expensive again, and things are starting to creep up again. I was looking at cabling the other day. Like that's gone up 25% in the last year. I bought a sidecar 2 years ago from Towman for I think £200. They're now £300. So stuff is getting so expensive. I can't imagine on anything I've bought I would lose money on it now if I sold it. Partly because I got good prices on it, and partly just because things are going up in price.
And I think that's why when you're making these big purchases, you've really got to think about resale value, because it's kind of like a car. Like what my dad always taught me was, son, as soon as you drive that car out of that fucking car park, it's already depreciated by like thousands already. It's like one of the only things where you actually are losing money by driving out of the fucking the showroom.
Off the forecourt. Yeah.
And I think that when you think about audio, it's very important to think about getting your money back, because you might have something for 6 months and then be like, especially speakers. And that's why I think that it's quite clever to look at investments that have good resale value. There's some headphones that always sell quite well. Odyssey LCDX, you will normally get like your money quite close back. If you buy like an expensive pair of audiophile headphones, sometimes you'll get them back. HE1000 SE, you can get your money back quite close, but you might go up to say like another pair of headphones, especially in the Hyphaman world. Like if you go for like Hyphaman Audivinas, $3,000, you'll be lucky if you get fucking $1,000, like £1,200.
But you also at that price point very quickly get into a league of low purchasing. I don't know how to phrase this. There's very few people spending that amount of money, so there's very few people willing
Correct,
to
and that's
invest
something
in
to bear
that
in
level
mind.
of value.
And another thing you've got to watch out for, right, is when you buy something and it's got a certain value at a certain point, when the next upgrade comes up, you could easily lose your money. So I always keep an eye on if a certain product that I own is going to be getting upgraded. Because I first think, am I going to want the upgrade? And if I am going to want the upgrade, I'm going to have to sell what I've got now until after that comes out. Because what can happen is, if you think about, for example, the IK Multimedia MTM Precisions, I had the Mark 1s, and if I would have sold them before the Mark 2s came out, I would have got a lot more money. But as soon as the Mark 2s came out, then a lot of people were like, well, there's no point me buying them because everybody's trying to get rid of the stock. So because they were now discontinued, it then meant that all of the distributors were then, they like slashed their prices to get rid of the stock that they had. So I lost money on that. But then there's been a few times where I know something's kind of going and I'm like, do I really want to keep it? Something new's coming out. Yeah, fuck it. Right, okay, I'll just get fucking rid of it. So I think you should always be on the lookout and just be looking. I just want you to look after yourself financially. I think that's the most important thing, is not to make silly purchasing decisions and make silly purchasing decisions that you're going to regret and then have to fight with the confirmation bias, which I see all the time, where somebody will buy something really expensive and they don't want to admit that it's maybe not the right purchase for them, and then they will then fight tooth and nail instead of just going, right, I need to cut my losses here, which Ed has done. Again, the SSLG boss, they just slashed the price of it, and Ed lost. What did you say? You got like a quarter of what you paid for it?
Oh, they fucking shafted everyone on that. That was £1,800 brand new, and then they announced that it was going to be down at like £1,000, which meant, or even £900. I think it came out as an introductory resale price. I can't remember. I think it's settled now at like £1,200, which basically meant you can get about half that back for sale. So I think I sold that for £500 or £600. So I lost 1,200 quid on it. So I'm never buying anything from SSL again on that principle.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you were down here with listening to the MTM Precisions, and I was like, at the time, I think they were retailing at 1,600, and you were like, well, I just went down to IK Multimedia, it was like whatever show they had in London, and you were like,
Studios,
Paul,
yeah, they had a demo.
it's like, Paul, it's closer to £2,000. So at that one specific moment, it was like they were, say, worth £2,000, resale valued easily, maybe you get 1,200, 1,400. As soon as the Mark II came out, and I tried to sell them afterwards, because again I had to sell stuff to get the SM8s, I got £500 fucking pound. I got £500 for a pair of fucking MTM Precisions. I would have got probably double that if I would have sold them prior to that.
Yeah, but hindsight is annoying. You can't dwell on it. It's like with this studio, I've tried the Amphions, the 218s in this studio once, and for whatever reason, I feel like the heads are working a bit better, hence they've been on the stands. I'm going to try them again because I want to test a few more things. But if I want to sell those now, because the X models have come out, they're worth a fraction now of what they were worth secondhand a year ago. Because there's a lot on the market now because people are upgrading to the X's. More people are choosing the X's over, obviously, the original ones. And there's a lot of secondhand stuff going. So, yeah, I've seen 218s for like £3,000 secondhand. So they're £5,500 brand new, I think. Not including the amp.
Okay. Yeah, the amp as well. Cheesy peeps. Yeah, and I think these are the things that's important to talk about, because if you're new to the game and you're in your head thinking, I'm going to save up and I'm going to fucking spend all this money and I'm going to make a big audio purchase, these are the things that you need to think about, because you never know if something's truly right until after you've had like at least 6 to 8 months with it. You'll find yourself, like what Ed's done, like what I've done with certain things, where you just find yourself not using it that much. You know what I mean? It's like you have it, you like the look of it, you know how much it costs, and you just kind of start thinking to yourself, I'm not using this as much, or it's not giving me what I want from it. right, okay, at that point you'd be like, right, okay, I need to maybe get rid of it and get something else. It happens all the time in audio. It's like audio could be quite subjective. And you need that experience to know, but there's nothing worse when you make quite a big investment and then, it happens all the time. Something new and shiny comes out and you didn't know about it. For example, I was going to say that to you, Ed, you said you got the M4 Mac. The M5 has just came out. And I was sitting there going, I wonder if Ed would have got the M5.
Yeah, I was thinking of waiting, but I read a Mac rumors thing that was suggesting the M5s weren't going to come out until 2026. And as of the moment, the only the 14-inch M5 is out. And it's actually a relatively low spec model. Like my M4's got a higher spec, but when they bring out the 16-inch models and they expand the spec and they do M5 Max and M5 Pro chips, which is inevitable, then yeah, they'll be incredible machines. But really, looking at the M5 specs though, it's more geared towards improving video and the graphics card elements. The rest of it, it's only really the GPU cores that they're expanding and improving on. Yeah. So I don't need that. I mean, I don't need the graphic capability of this one, to be honest. But
I mean, I think we could easily flip this around as well and say that be a little bit crafty and do, what people have done with Ed, where they've managed to get a bargain because they've timed it really well. Against maybe not be as spontaneous. I think many people could be spontaneous and make really big purchases.
Use me for bargains? What do you mean?
But it happens all the time where you can see something, you want it, and then you don't do the research that you're going to do, and then before you know it, you're like, you buy something, and then 3 weeks later the Mark II comes out, or the upgrade comes out, or someone else comes out, and you're like, shit, if I would have waited, just been a bit patient and waited 3-4 months, I would have got that. Like, I would have maybe saved thousands in some cases.
Yeah, but hindsight's a bit of a pain in the arse, isn't it? And it's just going to torture you.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can't live in hindsight because that's just a pointless place to live. There's no point in regretting things. You don't know when a new model of something's going to come out unless, you're fortunate. And sometimes we get YouTuber insider NDA enclosed information that we can't discuss. So, maybe we could get an advantage selling something. But, it's like the Amphion X's. I don't feel the need to upgrade. Yes, I can hear the benefit of the X's. They're phenomenal speakers. But I can't justify the upgrade. I don't feel like I need to. So I'm not unhappy with using the 218s. Like I said, I'm going to get them back on the stands later this week, I think. But why don't we end with some positives in terms of equipment that we can buy that isn't expensive? And the first thing that comes to mind for me, having just got it off you, Paul, is the Topping DX5 Mark II. Holy crap. That is one hell of a headphone amplifier. It is so fast. And I'll just give it away because you guys probably, might not watch my review on my channel when it comes out. But going between the DX7 Pro Plus and the Topping DX5, it's instantly audible how much quicker the DX5 is. And it's £300.
Yeah, it's a crazy price, man. It's a crazy price. And it's crazy how there's so many people that we know that have bought Prisms and, Lynxes and stuff like that. And you just don't need to. You don't need to spend that money when you've got the market and the place that it is just now, when you're getting better quality with more options, EQ, DSP. You can, change your outputs with a remote. It's just, you've got everything there that you need. So that's a great example for me. Speakers are a bit difficult because I do struggle to recommend speakers under $1,000, to be honest with you. And I've now invested in a pair of fucking $5,000 Kali SM8s. But, me and Nate talked about it from Kali on my channel, how, there are people out there that are rocking professional careers on fucking IN8s. There are people, and again, he named them, I can't remember who they were. I think Nico Bolas was one. Jeff Ellis was on IN8s for the longest time until he jumped up to the SM8s. So there are people out there that are being able to make less expensive stuff work. And again, headphones, Jesus. I mean, like, it's crazy the quality that you can get on headphones now. Like, you do not need to spend that. You don't even need to spend Odyssey money. You could easily get a pair of Ananda Nanos, pair of fucking Kiwi ears Altruva, like nanos for the bass and the center channel and the compression, transients. Kiwi ears Altrova, 70 quid, big picture, job done. You know, even spent fucking 400 quid. Add the DX7, add DX5 too, 300 quid. Before you know it, you've maybe only spent like fucking 600 quid. You know what I mean? It's crazy the quality that you can get these days. But speakers are difficult because you need to spend more to get a better design, to get more headroom, blah. But
yeah, then you need treatment and correction. Yeah. The Working Audio Tools podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at DistroKid for all of your musical distribution needs. For a little bit more, $39.99 a month, you can have 2 artists on your roster, which includes everything just mentioned. Additionally, synced lyrics in Apple Music, further streaming analytics statistics. You can create a customizable record name. Mine, for example, is Ed Thorne Rhythm and Records. And you can customize release dates, pre-order dates, iTunes pricing, and again, much more. Now, if you're an artist manager or a record label, the Ultimate Bundle gives you up to 100 artists for just $89.99 a year. And you get 1 terabyte of instant file sharing, which is useful, but also contact information for thousands of playlist curators on Spotify. This is really useful so you can pitch your artist's music to playlist curators around the world, only available in the Ultimate Bundle from DistroKid.
now another good example would be DIY acoustic treatment. Because I do have GIK in here. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there's 2 panels there. So 8 for that vocal booth. So I've got 8 pieces of GIK in this room, but my Atmos room measures impeccably well, and it's all DIY treatment. The live room is DIY treatment. There are certain benefits for me in certain types of, the bass soffits. I think the bass soffits are incredible, and I don't think I'd be able to get my bass decay down as good without the soffits if I was just to try and make them myself. But in most cases, just to get like a good room with like really good even decay across the spectrum, again, you could easily just make your own panels, and it's not that difficult. If a guy with dyspraxia can do it, you could do it. But yeah, Ed, in terms of your hodgepodge of acoustic treatment there, there was even you did a lot of DIY stuff there as well, didn't you? Even like with your ceiling, have you still got Rockwool above your ceiling cloud, or did you take it off?
Yeah, I made some like rock panel blocks and I covered them in moving blankets and then I sealed them with tape, and they're still above there. Yeah, so that's I wouldn't call that DIY. I wasn't building frames. Fuck that.
But you can do it, and I think. Even like in the terms of, again, plugins, again, people say all the time where
DIY plugins.
DIY plugins. You can get away with like stock plugins. Like honestly, if you feel that like you need super expensive shit to like have a good career in audio, that you're the problem. Like sorry, but you're the fucking problem, or your monitoring's the problem, or whatever. But you don't need to spend that much money to get good end results. I think one thing that's really important to remind yourself is that it's all about the skill, it's all about the ear, it's all about experience, and it's all about knowing what to do with it. You could spend a shit ton of money and not have a Scooby what to do with it. And it just some shit because you're not the right person behind the wheel. Where you could have somebody that uses maybe they can have 2 racks of Bart Hurk stuff, relatively cheap 500 series stuff, and they know how to use it and how to get the most out of it. And you get the same people that could work with cheap Waves plugins and stock fucking DAW plugins, and making incredible mixes. So yeah, I think you just need to think. All I want to say to people is my advice is spend the money on whatever you want to spend on. It's your money. Don't let people get in your head. If you want to make a purchase, make a purchase. But I think there's just a lot of things that you might need to consider before making a really, 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 really big purchase. 1, do you really need it? 2, are you going to be able to justify it? Is it going to make its money back? And probably maybe an added thing as well is if you do think that you might not keep it long term, are you going to get good resale value on that? Again, you've not got a crystal ball. But again, if you've got a kind of a reputable brand, there are certain brands that, will kind of make their money back. So yeah, just have a think about it, right? I want to look after you, right? It's difficult. We're in a tough economic climate. We all want audio gear, and I know it's difficult when you see people like us parading all the fucking shit that we've done videos for and stuff. But yeah, it's tough. It's difficult. Don't get yourself in debt, and just look after yourself. That's how I'd end it. Just look after yourself.
On that price tag bombshell, I need to think of some better endings. Paul, you know what that means? We've done this for too long.
Way too long. Way
well over
long.
100 episodes now. Right, it's been emotional. We'll see you next week, where I may have some news about a rather elaborate purchase. Leave your comment if you can guess what that is. Some of you know already. And we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.